it gives me immense pleasure to announce our first session with Shri Kalanidhi Veeraswamy, Member of Lok Sabha, DMK. Sir, I request you to please join us on the stage. Shri Sasmit Patra, Member of Parliament from the BJD, and Shri P.P. Chaudhary, Member of Lok Sabha, BJP, as well as a senior advocate, to please join us on stage. The session will be moderated by Mr. Rishabh Gulati, Editor-in-Chief of NewsX, and of course they will be discussing the big topic, census and delimitation, the North-South test. Over to you, Rishabh.
Thank you very much, Devika. And yes, what a discussion topic to have to start this off with. Ladies and gentlemen, when the first census was conducted in independent India in 1951, we counted 361 million people. By the time we conducted the 15th census in 2011, we were counting 1.21 billion people. You all know that India now is the world's most populous country. As we speak, we are north of 1.5 billion people. In just a few weeks from now, the next census exercise will begin. And we will get a footprint and a fingerprint of where we stand as Indians. How many of us are there? And there are so many things that you know are going to become interesting as well as controversial. What are we going to learn? Is it true that in the percentage terms, the population in South India will go down? Is it true that it is in the north that the population is expanding? Is it true that in this country we need a caste census to reimagine ourselves? Will we figure it out and have controversies about what is the percentage of Muslim population in this country? What is the percentage of Sikh population in this country? And will this result in a delimitation exercise that fundamentally changes the structure of India's Lok Sabha? Let's have this conversation. Shri Kalanidhi Veeraswamy, Member of Parliament of the Lok Sabha from the DMK is with us. Shri Sasmit Patra, Member of Parliament is with us. He represents the BJD. And Shri P.P. Chaudhary, Member of Lok Sabha. He's a senior advocate and he's of course from the BJP. Mr. Veeraswamy, let me begin with you, sir. Just literally a few weeks ago, your party Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, M.K. Stalin, is going out and telling Tamils, have 16 children. Why?
Good morning to every one of you. I think it was more of a figurative way of saying that. I mean, I'm sure he's not meaning that. But if you look at how Tamil Nadu has progressed over the past 75 years, you will find that Tamil Nadu was one of the poorest states, the bottom three. It was in the bottom three. And over the past several decades, we have reached where economically we are the second largest in the country. And also, when the government of India came out with this issue of population rise, so we have taken measures where the implementation of family planning was done effectively, and earlier where our total fertility ratio was above 3, today it is 1.7. So when you talk about total fertility ratio, it is the number of children a woman can have in the childbearing age. And if you have a number of 2.1, the population sustains. Yes. So if the number is above 2.1, the population is bound to keep increasing. So what we find is most of the southern states have achieved this, where their total fertility ratio has come down to 1.6 or 1.7, like Kerala, Tamil Nadu, and even Andhra, Karnataka. But sadly, the total fertility ratio of most of the north states, especially Bihar and UP, still stays about 2.7 or more than 3. So what is happening now is the population of Tamil Nadu, Tamil population, is falling. And you will find that there has been an influx of a lot of people from northern states who come there as migrant laborers or for better opportunities.
So Mr. Veeraswamy, you are saying that we are a success story. Tamil Nadu, you know, there is a space center being built there in Tuticorin. We are seeing the latest technology, the Apple iPhones. It's a state with a huge maritime potential. You are a success story in family planning. But because you've been a success story in family planning,
we are being penalized.
Are you
we are being penalized. See, the whole point about the delimitation, since emergency, it has been kept being postponed for like 25 years and 25 years, mainly because if you're going to go by the census of 2011 and the present government, where the census should have been conducted in 2021, I think it is not by chance that the census is being postponed. Because the 2002 Delimitation Commission has said that after 2026, the population, the census should be done, and only after that, the delimitation process should be exercised. So, taking that into view, I think probably it is by design that this government has not conducted the census in 2021, claiming that COVID as a cause. Because if COVID was a cause, they could have conducted it any time after 2021, where the whole exercise could have been finished within 3 months.
Okay, I'm going to ask you about the seats because it's a larger argument. Do we need more MPs in Parliament? Probably. But where is it go? Where are they going to come from? Where will the extra seats carved out? Dr. Sasmit Patra, the East is a similar story. Do you also feel that when the census comes up with the facts and figures, we'll have them maybe in a year's time, that we will see in percentage terms that the population in the North and West has gone up more than the South and the East?
Firstly, thank you so much to Legally Speaking, NewsX Network, my dear friend Karthikeya, and the entire team for inviting me today. It's indeed an interesting day, primarily because we are deliberating on law and constitution, especially when the Lok Sabha is going to start deliberations on a 2-day constitution debate, which is quite historic. And both Mr. Veeraswamy as well as Mr. Chaudhary would be participating on it, and on Monday and Tuesday we'll be doing it in Rajya Sabha. Coming back to Mr. Gulati's question relating to whether in the East we see it differently or the same. Firstly, everyone knows the fertility ratio or the fertility rate per se in every state. My 2 cents in this matter is, I would like to wait for the census to come in. There are many speculations that are doing the rounds, as Mr. Gulati has said, relating to would the southern states lose out? Would the eastern states lose out? Would the northern states gain more? I believe anything that does not go with the idea of equality as per Article 14, or somewhere violates Article 15 or Article 16, would surely be struck down. Now, whether that be the Delimitation Commission or whether that be the outcomes that comes from census and its further challenges to it. So I would rather wait, but one thing I must join issue on is the caste census. And the Biju Janata Dal and our leader, former Honorable CM Shri Naveen Patnaik ji, has always been batting for caste census. And the reason is, why? Is it a populistic measure? Is it sensational? That is why we are talking about the caste census? No. If you remember that all our welfare programs of the country stems from which? SECC data. Socio-economic caste census survey that was done in 2011. Today, between 2011 to 2024, you have about 13 years that have passed. Is the SECC data still relevant? May not be. But today, all our measures, whether it's the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, whether there are the various schemes, still draws their details from SECC. So, more than caste census for political reasons, I believe caste census is essential to identify reservation and the proportion of reservation. Second, the welfare measures that needs to be provided, and social justice.
Okay, so you will be watching out not only for the overall population figures, because yes, you are probably concerned, but you'll also be watching out for the caste census. Let me get Mr. Chaudhary into this conversation. Mr. Chaudhary, because we've heard M.K. Stalin, and it might be a rhetorical suggestion as Mr. Veeraswamy is saying, but we've also heard Mohan Bhagwat ji saying that look at what's happened in Japan, look at what is happening in Northern Europe, that yahan par all the populations are falling. While India is 1.5 billion, we still need to have a reasonable growth rate of population. Do you agree?
Yes, I agree with it, because initially we saw a few years back the population was there, but on account of the demographic advantage. So in India, the population is planning, and we have to make the pass for it. And I think, into my mind, the statement made by Mohan Bhagwat is perfectly correct, so far the Indian perspective is concerned.
Is that driven by the fact that the good of the country will be served with a sustainable population? Mr. Veeraswamy said that is 2.1, the fertility rate is 2.1. Or many people will say that, look, there is a concern that the percentage of Muslim population is rising, and that's what's driving it. This is not meant to all Indians, this is meant to Hindus.
This is nothing to do with that, because overall, this is nothing to do with the particular religion or this anything other. But this, so far as this earlier, the population is falling so far as India is concerned if you compare the other years. So that's why it is a relevant statement made in this perspective.
Okay.
One
Yeah,
second.
yeah, Mr. Veeraswamy, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to clarify about our Chief Minister's statement. See, in Tamil Nadu, whenever we go and attend a wedding, we always say, Padinarum Petru Peruvar Varga, which translates to have 16 wells and prosper in life. So when he says have 16, he probably is meaning about...
Yeah, he's being rhetorical, obviously, but...
No, it's about 16 wells, which is not children. So it's basically
it's
about
not necessarily
health,
children.
long
Okay,
life,
okay. Much lost
children.
in translation, but the premise remains that there is a concern in Tamil Nadu that the population in the north will go up, and which brings us to the subject that we've touched upon, but let me jump into it. Ladies and gentlemen, in this country, every Lok Sabha member of parliament represents 16 lakh voters and 27 lakh people. In the United Kingdom, with a population of 68 million, they have 650 members of parliament in the House of Commons. They represent 1 MP per 1 lakh. Mr. Chaudhary, do we need more MPs in the Lok Sabha?
First of all, I would like to correct on that. In some of the states, it is 16 lakhs voters. But in a state like me, and so far as my constituency is concerned, we are having around 22 lakhs voters.
Yes, yes.
So, because if you want to have the effective representation of the member of parliament to deal with the constituencies, then I think the more Lok Sabha MPs must be there.
So yes, so that's a yes. Sasmit Patra ji, we have gone through the last 3 decades where we are saying that we need to create the state of Jharkhand, we need to create the state of Chhattisgarh, we need to have Uttarakhand. Therefore, the number of chief ministers has gone up, the number of MLAs has gone up, the number of state ministers has gone up. Why not the members of parliament?
No, I'm not contesting that there shouldn't be an increase in the members of parliament with respect to the ratio. But it's interesting, as a country, we call ourselves the largest democracy in the world, but there hasn't been a single data point, a single study that has studied the performance of one member of parliament versus the total constituency. One member of legislative assembly versus the total constituency. What is the right mix? What is the right ratio of a population versus one member of parliament? Is it 10 lakhs, 15 lakhs, 20 lakhs, 5 lakhs? So I believe instead of looking at numbers from the perspective of volume, we should be rather looking at efficacy and effectiveness.
Okay, so if anybody out there is running a think tank watching this broadcast, this is an open call that we have to have science behind it. It cannot be an arbitrary figure. The science has to tell us what is the most efficient representation per MP, per the number of constituents. But we have general consensus, sir, Mr. Veeraswamy, that the number of MPs should indeed go up.
My view on this is that the representation of people adequately should be done where, like, the numbers should come down, the number of population. So I agree with the number of MPs going up. But I also would like to say that when I used to look at the US system of elections, they have something called as the electoral college.
Yes. So on proportional representation, I'm just going to come to you. So in premise, everybody agrees that number of MPs should go up. The big question then is, by how much? PP Chaudhary ji, we have to implement 33% reservation for women as it is in 2027. So we are just a couple of years out from that. So should the number of seats go up by 33%? By a thumb rule, ladies and gentlemen, the new Lok Sabha that has been built can host 800 people. Okay, so that's the cap right now, physical cap right now. Mr. Chaudhary, by how much? 30%, 50%, how much?
Because first of all, this formula is required to be devised, and it is for the Delimitation Commission and the lawmaking authority. Because we can't say just now what is the proportional representation. Suppose you have to strike the fine balance between the state and the population of that state. So in northeast area, just in Arunachal Pradesh, you have 2 members of parliament. The area is very large. Now if you say that because the population is less, the member of parliament should be more. And in those areas where the population is more, we can't have the more member of parliament. So between the states and the population, the fine balance is required to be struck, and the fixed formula can't be there, that on the basis of a particular population, you must have a one member of parliament. It may differ state to state, but at the same time, we have to strike the fine balance between the states and the population of that
Okay,
state.
so Mr. P.P. Chaudhary is actually giving the reasonable consideration that the states that have actually managed their populations very well should not be punished in representation in parliament. But how do we do? So sir mentioned how the United States works. They have electoral colleges, which means the states like Utah, Nebraska, with small populations still matter when it comes to electing a president, which is why you can lose the popular vote and still be president. But Mr. Veeraswamy, how do we then do it? Do we say that, okay, if there are 42 MPs in Tamil Nadu and there are 80 MPs in UP, so if you are increasing by 33%, then everybody gets 33%. You get 15 more MPs, UP gets 25 more MPs. Should it be proportional or should it be population? Or should it be a mix?
See, as it is, if you look at the southern states, the 5 states all put together, we have a total of 130 members of parliament.
Yes.
So the balance of, say, about 423 MPs come from the northern states. And for any government which is interested, I mean, any party, political party, which is interested in forming a government, they need not even bother about this 130 MPs, and they can focus on the 423 constituencies where they probably will be able to form a majority. So this is what we believe is happening, because Bharatiya Janata Party today, the ruling government, they do not have funds. I mean, like if you're looking at the taxes which are being devolved to us, for every rupee that Tamil Nadu pays, we get back only about 29 paisa. Whereas Karnataka gets, for every 1 rupee given, they get only 16 paisa. So most of these states, we are bearing the brunt of development. And now you're saying that the proportionate representation is going to make it where we are going to lose further in the number of MPs in comparison to most of the northern states. I feel that there should be some kind of an adjustment where, like the electoral college, individual state should have certain numbers to match, so that if you're going to say that we are going to increase the number of MPs in Tamil Nadu by only, say, about 5,
yes,
whereas in Uttar Pradesh, from 80, if they're going to make it 100, I say the strength of Tamil Nadu should be increased by 20 points,
okay,
which will be added.
So yes, proportional, that if we are increasing 20%, then 20% for everybody. This is what you're saying. If 30%, 30% for everybody.
No, I am saying based on your development and your contribution to the country, both economically and in achieving your sustainable development goals. Based on that, give points to individual states.
So calculate, and as Karthi Chidambaran is walking in, he'll probably agree with that. But Mr. P.P. Chaudhary is being reasonable. Mr. P.P. Chaudhary, do you discriminate at the center, regardless Congress, BJP? Do you ignore the southern states, the northeast states, because electorally in parliament, they don't matter?
Because electoral college, at the same time, is a very, very important. You can't ignore. Basically, we go by that, and our system is based on that. Simply because the geographical area or the state is demarcated. All the states are not demarcated on the basis of the population. So either you go for the demarcation of the states, the revision of the states, all this. So initially I have said you have to strike the fine balance. It can't be the exactly same. But at the same time, you can't ignore the population. After all, they are the electoral college. They are the voters. And you can say the smaller number of voters can have the more say. So that's why you can't have to strike a fine balance. So justice should be done with the both.
Okay, that is the complexity of the argument.
You can't straight jacket formula.
That's why it's complex. There's no straightforward solution. Sasmit ji, do you agree with the premise that if the state is not the fulcrum, in make or break of a government at the center, therefore it is subconsciously those in the center will ignore that state in terms of development priorities?
No, I don't think any government, whether in the center from whichever party, can really afford to neglect a state. I don't think in a federal form of governance we have. And I would also not like to dwell on the north-south debate, because we do not know in terms of delimitation how it's going to play up. My understanding is, instead of, as I said, we do not have scientific data, or we do not have a scientific study to identify what should be the ratio of public representatives versus a population. Let's say in a state X, maybe one member of parliament may be good for 10 lakh voters. Another state, one member of parliament may be relevant for 7.5 lakh constituents. So therefore, to have one size fits all, you come to my state of Odisha, there are primarily 3 regions: the coastal Odisha, the western Odisha, the southern Odisha, and there is a part of the northern part of Odisha. Now, all the 3 or 4 regions have distinct socio-economic presence, also have cultural identities, which also have subtext. Now, if you were to mix all of them up and say all of them are one, it's not true. Similarly, every state has their own understanding in terms of one MP constituency means what. So I believe instead of probably defining it only by number terms and saying 10 lakhs, 15 lakhs, 20 lakhs, it'll do, let's cut it by 30%, 40%, add 20% all around. It's like a, it's like a piece of cake.
Okay,
you cut
all right.
more and
We've got rare consensus that the number of MPs should go up. But we have no clear formula on how to do so. This is why it's going to be very complex. So, Mr. P.P. Chaudhary, let me ask you the one question you raised. We only got 2-3 minutes left. Caste census, it has been the primary pitch of the opposition parties since before the Lok Sabha elections. The logic that Sasmit Patra is telling us that if you want to do reservation, if you want to do government schemes, if you want to do welfare, you need to know it. This is a basic thing that you just need to know as a data point, forget the politics. Do you agree?
Yes, I fully agree with it, because otherwise no purpose will be served with it. And once you have to determine, just because you belong to a particular SC or ST class, the reservation is already there. But knowing the number of those persons will not give any helpful this thing. But only thing is that if you want to increase the reservation system or that. But since it has been fixed in the constitution itself and everybody is satisfied with the basis of reservation, so in my opinion, no purpose will be served for the caste census.
Okay, we got a couple of minutes, so I want to address these hot potatoes. Mr. Veeraswamy, it's a genuine issue because caste is an issue of controversy and conversation in this country. Religion remains an issue of controversy and conversation. You and I know, sir, that once the census figures come out, they are probably going to tell us that not only in real terms, but in percentage terms, minority populations have gone up, Muslim population has gone up. Will that create concern in this country? Will it become a political hot potato?
Definitely. That is the reason why the present government dispensation is not keen on having a caste census. So, and they have been kind of postponing it. And I feel that the whole purpose of this exercise of census is to ensure that we identify the target people who have to be reached out. Like Mr. Patra had said, regarding the benefits which are going to be given to them, opportunities and reservations which are going to be given to them. And in that note, I would also like to say, when we are going to have this constitution debate happening in Parliament, you have to understand that the 17th Lok Sabha was passed without a deputy speaker being elected, which is a constitutional post. So the present dispensation is so insecure that they do not even want to give the post of a deputy speaker even to their alliance parties. And they have been like the census also, with great design, they have planned it in such a way that it can be conducted in 2026. Otherwise, if it had gone by schedule, the census should have been conducted in 2021.
Okay, so you say it's conspiratorial because the government doesn't want you to know the data
because the next census would have been 2031.
Or may change things. But P.P. Chaudhary, let me ask you this question, sir, because you know this will be an issue. Should Hindus in this country be worried if they see that in percentage terms the Muslim population is going up?
Yes, definitely, because that is not reasonable and it will create inequality among the society.
Let me ask the opposite question to Sasmit Patra. Should Muslims then be worried that Hindus are worried about their growing population?
You know, Mr. Gulati, I'll not get drawn into your question.
I'm trying.
You're trying, but I'll not get drawn in. All I'll say, let me give you a generic answer to this. The generic answer is that in the census, or even let's say caste census happens, whatever findings we have will be dwelt and looked through the prism of politics. Many narratives will be drawn, each suiting to oneself. And that's how it's going to play up into the delimitation, and then on to the reservation, and then on to 2029. If one nation, one election happens before, as we hear, then probably we might have one even before this starts.
Okay, we're going to come back and discuss one nation, one election in a different panel, but I want to touch upon this for a second because it's very real. Our entire lifetimes have been spent worrying about too fast population growth. Will the next generation be worried about population collapse, Sasmit Patra?
Well, population collapse is not going to happen anytime soon, but we should surely plan to see that we don't become an aging population.
Okay.
With the fertility
We should
ratio
not
going.
grow old before we grow rich. Are you worried about a population collapse, Mr. Veeraswamy, in Tamil Nadu?
No, it is bound to happen. I feel that Mr. Patra's hopes are not going to be met because there is a study which says that the population of India will start falling from 2060. And I mean, I'm sure that even the northern states, the total fertility ratios are bound to come down.
Yes.
And just like how Japan is facing a senior citizen crisis, I mean, like the number of population above 60 is become huge. I'm sure that in the next 3 decades, we will be facing a crisis.
Mr. P.P. Chaudhary has already said that he agrees with Mohan Bhagwat that, that we have to concern ourselves not with increasing population, but the potential of a declining population. This has been a fascinating conversation. Thank you for navigating it with me, and it's been a treat. Thank you to all of you, and thank you to our viewers for watching this.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
This morning to open the third Law and Constitution dialogue. I will request Mr. Kalanidhi Veeraswamy, Mr. Sasmit Patra. I would request Mr. Kalanidhi Veeraswamy and Mr. Sasmit Patra and Mr. P.P. Chaudhary to please accept a token of our appreciation. We highly respect that you've taken out moments from your precious time to be with us here today. A very special memento being presented to our panelists. It's a copy of the Indian Constitution. And this is, of course, a photograph of the first meeting of the Constituent Assembly, which was attended by 205 members, viewers, including 9 women under the chairmanship of Dr. Sachinananda Sinha on the 9th of December 1946. We thank once again Shri Kalanidhi Veeraswamy, Shri Sasmit Patra, and Shri P.P. Chaudhary for joining us at the third Law and Constitution Dialogue 2024. Let's have a huge round of applause for all our panelists. I request all our audiences to please, let's keep that round of applause going. And after this, we have, of course, another